And welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am joined here, as always, by the man who has just been flagged for taunting. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Unfortunately, I did get that taunting call, but it is what it is. Gotta love the NFL. I downloaded TikTok for the first time.
Okay, how you liking that?
I deleted it. I went into it saying I don't really know what all the fuss is about. Watched 2 hours of TikTok saying I don't really know what the fuss is about. Realized this is not a productive way of using my time, so I deleted the app. And then I put on Xbox and played 2K for an hour for a better use of my time.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my thought about TikTok. It's like, I don't need I always spend way too much time on Reddit, on Twitter, on YouTube. I don't need like another thing to waste too much time on.
Oh, you're a big Redditor?
I'm relatively big Redditor. Usually in the morning, waking up when I'm too lazy to get out of bed.
Is that what Reddit people call themselves, Redditors?
I believe so. Yeah. I think that's what the term is. I don't think anyone actually says it though.
Yeah.
Usually, ironically, I think.
There's a big Formula One crowd. So the stuff I've been learning about Formula One as I dove in this season, great year, by the way, for Formula One. As I've dove in, Reddit has been a big resource for me. But outside of that, I haven't really used Reddit before.
Yeah, Reddit's great for I'm a fan of some reality competition shows like Survivor. So it's great for I don't have any friends who watch Survivor, so I can go on Reddit and read what they're saying.
That's fair. The one thing about Reddit I will say, it's like old school internet in that nobody knows who anybody is. So people just eviscerate each other. Everyone is so savage on Reddit.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's a blank face basically. So that's definitely the interesting part of it. Just seeing people just kill each other, basically.
Yes. All right. Let's get into the football of it all. Here's how the show is going to work. Usually we just usually we just predict the games. But since we did not have a show on Sunday night like we typically do, we're going to do a sort of, shorter version of that where we're going to talk about the most important games and maybe some other things if we have other things we want to talk about. So, Kyle, you want to just get into, do you have a game in particular you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we can start as we typically do with our Sunday night or Sunday show, because like Jackson at his weekend wedding, the NFL was drunk over the weekend. It was absolutely wild Sunday, and Sunday night Bears Steelers capped off a glorious day of NFL with just pure madness breaking out in that final 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think maybe are you drunk as well? Because this was the Monday night game, right?
I might be drunk. So yeah, this is the Monday night game. So as we typically start our Wednesday show, this was the Monday night game. I got everything mixed up, man. We missed one show and I'm all thrown off.
Yeah, we're rusty. All right, it's the classic. The team that rests their starters week 17 and then has a bad first quarter in the playoffs. That's where we're at right now. Yeah, let's talk about this absolute insanity of a game. Where should we? I guess what's the headline here? Should we start off with the referees, or should we start off with the game itself? Let's start off. Should we start off with the refs?
Yeah, let's get into the refs. They sucked. I didn't know who Tony Corrente. I don't research these referees a whole lot like a lot of people do. I didn't know the name Tony Corrente before this game. I certainly do now. He wasn't good. He was very bad in this one. And I mean, not only was the taunting call dumb, but then the hip check as he's walking by to let him know he's getting called for taunting. I mean, what a turn of events there. I mean, there's a whole lot more to the game, so it's not like you can say that's the reason why the Bears lost, but it certainly doesn't look good.
Right. I mean, that doesn't look good. And also, I think, Chris Sims told a story about, I don't really know exactly how is Cornette. That's how you say it.
Is it Cornette? I thought it was Corrente.
I don't know.
Corrente.
You're probably, I think you're right. Corrente. The name confuses me. Corrente. We'll call him Tony. Tony, Chris Sims told a story about how one time he argued a call with Tony. And then later on, Tony he stopped letting the offense know when they were getting back from commercial, which is typical protocol. So apparently he lets his emotions get in the way of stuff, which is it's absurd, especially the irony of throwing a flag for someone who's, letting their emotions get in the way of, just celebrating. absolutely ridiculous. Like the other calls I can live with, like the tight end box, like low block. It's like, okay, it was a close play. They did the wrong call. That happens. But the taunting thing, it's just ridiculous. And it's it's expected as well.
Yeah. So, it was a bad call. That's really all you can say about it. It was a bad call, but the Bears also lost the game because of other mistakes too. In a slow start to this game, really, is what it was, because Steelers kind of jumped them early, and that's what changed it. Obviously, you don't know what happens if that call's not made.
You know who doesn't think it's a bad call? The NFL. They've come out and said that they think that it was the correct call. So there you go.
Well, I've spent a lifetime seeing basically the NFL defend its refs no matter what. So,
yeah.
Outside of that pass interference call in that same game against the Rams, I can't remember a time the NFL said, "Oh, hey, yeah, that was wrong."
Every now and then they'll come out and they usually do it. They'll offer apologies to certain teams. That happens. I feel like somewhat frequently.
Yeah. Can we talk about the game? Because Justin Fields was awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about the game. Justin Fields is very good. He was electric in that final drive. The ending was just, that was, it reminded me of the Baker Mayfield game against the Jets, right? Where it's just it was just one of those, there's electricity in the air. This is just incredible to watch.
Yeah, he was really good in this one. It was a slow start for him, like the rest of the Bears roster. He had a bad pick in this game. But I thought he really turned it around and kind of came alive. And like you said, towards the end of the game, made some really big plays for his team. I was really impressed with his performance. And outside of that Lions game, which is basically playing the NFL JV squad, this was his best performance of the season, without a doubt.
Yeah, and listen, Fields has had his down moments. It's also kind of weird, I think with the, it's fascinating because Fields did have some missed throws. This was not a perfect game, but to me, what made this so good was the way that he just sort of even in that final drive, he misses a wide open Allen Robinson, just never sees him, throws to another open guy and overthrows it, but then comes right back to Allen Robinson and gets that big play. This is what Fields fans have always liked about Fields is he might not be perfect. He might be rough around the edges and he might make some mistakes, but he answers the bell, and he absolutely did in this one.
Yeah. He competes, so I give him a lot of credit for that. I thought it was a fun time to see him go out there and make some plays. And hey, he was pretty close to he brought the Bears back, gave them the lead, or helped get them the lead, and then he almost did it again at the very end. That 65-yard field goal was just short. And on the other side,
it was 10 yards short, in fairness.
Well,
the field goal itself was very. I thought it hit off the post, but
yeah, it would have been an incredible kick.
Yeah,
but he almost did it again. He almost brought him back to win that one twice. And then on the other side, the Steelers had a rookie who was fantastic in this game, and that's Pat Freiermuth, who's just emerging as this. Yeah, he's just emerging as the stud tight end. It's week after week, he's coming up with a big play now.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate for him because he's under Kyle Pitts' shadow for this year, but he's been an incredible tight end for a rookie. That was very cool. The Steelers are going to be 6-3 after this week. Probably they play the Lions. We'll talk about that. I still don't think the Steelers are that good. I still stand by. I think they can't cover. That's a real issue.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do much, even if they get into the playoffs. If they can't seem to figure that out, that's a huge issue. They also can't really throw the ball that well with Ben Roethlisberger, who's started playing competent, but he's still not great. So there's two very important aspects of football that the Steelers just don't do well. So that's kind of my concern. But at least if you can do the other stuff well, you should be able to beat teams like Chicago, even with a, that fumble return for a touchdown.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the market's going to correct itself on this sooner or later. Obviously the Lions are the team that's going to do it. I just feel I don't know, the way I was looking at it is there's basically 12 teams battling for 7 spots in the AFC. And I just feel like a 3-game losing streak sooner or later is going to derail one of these teams. And it feels like that's probably going to happen to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, I think so. But then again, the Mike Tomlin thing, his teams just win. Doesn't matter how much talent they have. I'm convinced if Kyle, if you started at quarterback, they'd 1-16.
So they get 1?
Yeah, I think they'd win a game with you at quarterback. That's how good Mike Tomlin is.
Honestly, if I won one NFL game as a starting quarterback, I'd retire on the spot.
If I completed one pass.
Yeah. All right, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need to get
exactly.
hit anymore.
Right. Yeah, so good stuff. I see there's a comment. Zachary Stewart said no, Fields was atrocious until the last 5 minutes when he decided to throw it deep to his guys. I thought Fields, like, again, it wasn't like a wire to wire great performance, but you're never really gonna see that. He missed some throws, he did. He had some bad moments. Like, there was an open receiver that could have been a touchdown that he missed earlier on in the game, or that he just didn't notice. But I thought he made some really impressive throws even in the first 55 minutes as well. I thought he had some tight windows. If Zach Wilson had this game, I'd be going crazy. I have to say the same for Fields. I thought he did really well. Also, I want to say a side note. I feel like I have pretty much nailed my Justin Fields prediction. It's just that I had him as number 6 on the roster, so people on the quarterback chart, so people think I hate him. Like, I pretty much nailed exactly how he is. He's going to be inconsistent, but he's going to have a boom or bust factor, and he's going to be kind of Carson Wentz-like. I feel like that's exactly what we've seen so far.
I'd say so. I mean, all these guys I think have shown flashes of being pretty good, except for Trey Lance, who we basically have no sample size of.
Right.
So I think we've seen enough from all of these guys to give, a reason for optimism going forward. So I'm giving Fields, I realize that it's going to take a year or two. I'm giving him a year or two.
Yeah.
I don't want to have too strong opinions about him right now. That's basically the way I've been feeling. He's shown flashes, though. I think he's shown flashes, especially in this game, of, making some real plays.
Yeah, and he's done the impossible. He's made the Bears interesting.
That is true.
Yeah, very impressive. When we're like, oh, can't wait to see this. Like, the Bears have like 3 more primetime games, but I'm at least like, we're gonna see Fields. Like that's like, thank God Andy Dalton isn't still starting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they have 3 more primetime games.
Oh yeah, they have like 4, like 5 weeks or something like that. It's absurd.
That is absurd. This team's gonna be like 5-13 or something like that. It's not going to be pretty. 5 and what is it?
Yeah, I like
12 and 5-12. I mean,
yeah.
they'll get a 13 loss. Just hand it. The Packers will go in and beat them again.
Don't make the playoffs at 4-12 and then lose in the playoffs, or 5-12. Now I'm doing it. Whatever. We're getting confused. Let's move on. Let's go to. There's a game I want to talk about. The Bills Jaguars. Kyle, your Super Bowl pick played in this game, not the Jaguars. Scale of 1 to 10, how are we feeling in terms of the panic scale? 10 being a 10 being the highest.
I'm not panicking yet. I mean, It wasn't a good performance, and it goes back to the part of what I've been saying about the Bills is that they've yet to really put in a complete performance. Like, except for the Chiefs game. Chiefs game was their most complete performance of the season on both sides of the ball. The defense, again, was really good in this one. But in a game where the Jaguars lose Trevor Lawrence at one point, James Robinson doesn't play, there's really no excuse to not beat this team by like 45. And, I mean, we've seen this Jaguars defense get torched by the likes of Tyrod Taylor. It was a bad game, and it was a bad game. Now, the one thing I take solace in if I'm the Bills or if I'm a Bills fan is that just about every team in the AFC has had a stupid game. I know the Titans were missing guys. They were missing their 2 best receivers. That's a big deal. They lost to the Jets. Bengals lost to the Jets. The Patriots lost to the Dolphins. You go further and further down the list, just about every team has a stupid loss. The Raiders just lost to the Giants. I don't want to panic over 1 week of the NFL season, so I'm not panicking yet. That being said, this was a really bad performance.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, I guess the one thing I would say, though, is that the Bills have had 2 of these now, right? They lost to Pittsburgh week 1, who I know their record is good, so maybe they're better than I give them credit for. But I think this was an aspect of, first thing is Jaguars limited possessions, only 9 drives, and the Bills turned the ball over 3 times. So that alone is going to hurt you a lot. They didn't actually move the ball down the field with some consistency, but what the Jaguars did was it was kind of similar to the Mahomes defense. Really, you play cover 2, you make them have to run these 12-play drives to get down the field and hope they screwed up. And the Bills had a lot of screw ups in this one, and that's kind of what sunk them. It was the miscues. The Bills definitely lost this game more than the Jaguars won it, which to me is probably a good thing because that kind of tells you that, like, okay, they had a bad week. You just hope this doesn't happen come postseason time.
Did this end Josh Allen's MVP run?
Hope? I think it began a new Josh Allen's MVP run.
Oh, geez.
No, I just had to make the joke with their names. But Well, the weird thing about MVP is like there's no real clear favorite in the AFC. There's no real clear MVP favorite either. Like you could make the argument for like 6 or 7 different guys. So I think he still has a chance. I think really the second half of the season is going to determine the MVP.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I mean, it certainly hasn't looked good. I think there's been a regression this season. I don't think he's playing at the level that he played last year. Now, our team's adjusting to him defensively, like you said, not blitzing, playing in coverage. It's making it harder for him. Probably, but I think one of the things we're seeing is that I don't know, like how many times are we going to make this excuse for the quarterback that hey, guys are dropping in coverage? Like eventually, you got to think these guys figure it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a fair point. I mean, like we've never said like, oh well, Brady had a bad game because they played a lot of cover too. Like like the elite of the elite figure this stuff out. Like we never said about it Russell Wilson, right? Like you can figure it out. So it's not an excuse. It's kind of a reason, and I think that it also goes a bit to show. It's like when the Jaguars played man, and this is not a great secondary. At least it's a young secondary. They're getting better. But they really shut down these receivers. Like Stephon Diggs has not had a great season. I don't think this entire receiving core has had what we hoped. It's been fine. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying from what we thought they would be going in, it has underperformed through 8 games.
Yeah. I really just have no idea what to think about the AFC right now. I think every playoff spot's up for grabs. I don't think anything's a lock, honestly.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I think that if you have to pick a lock, probably the Titans winning the AFC South just because, it's not the best division. But I think I agree. Let's move on. We got 2 more main games to talk about, and then maybe we'll, do a sort of a lightning round of anything else. Let's go Titans Rams here. We saw this was the Sunday night game, so we're finally getting to the Sunday night game you talked about. The Titans, I'm trying to remember. I gotta look up this actual stats, but they barely moved the ball and still dominated the Rams. I mean, this was a defensive win by the Titans. Dare I say, with their good secondary.
I mean, it's playing well, and their defensive line's been good at times too. I mean, I don't really like. It's kind of just it just got better out of the blue. I mean, there's really nothing else you could say. Like it was like this is a bad defense, this is a bad defense, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is a good defense. I haven't like looked into the film of like, okay, why is this all of a sudden better? But I think the defensive line has played a lot better the last few weeks, and in turn, the secondary has played a lot better the last few weeks too. I'm not really sure why it's happened though.
Yeah, it's one of the more baffling things. I mean, like, listen, they did add some, like, they got Elijah Molden, who's been a good safety for them. Like, that helps. But, yeah, they haven't changed a lot of personnel. Maybe it's just been more of a coaching thing because there was a lot, when they played zone coverage last year, it's like they'd be like, oh, there's a guy over there. Whoa, I got to stand over here. This is where my coach told me to play. Whereas, like, now they're a bit more aggressive. That's something. But I haven't noticed, like, major shift. Got to give a shout out to Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, anytime you get 3 sacks, you're doing something right. So give him some love. And, obviously, I think the flip side is like, so I looked at the stats, only 3.5 yards per play for the Titans. I mean, this was not like a dominant performance. Ryan Tannehill, 143 yards on 27 attempts. So, not exactly he's throwing the ball down the field and winning the game that way. But probably the biggest shift here was just those 2 picks by Matt Stafford, which really, I mean, that shifted things dramatically.
Yeah, Tannehill had another high PFF grade. I don't know, like PFF loves him, but sometimes it's like, yeah, I thought he was fine in this game, but he
did what the offense asked him to do. I agree, but yeah, PFF can be a little bit weird, especially with their quarterback grades. That's kind of I like PFF, but that's kind of one of the things that maybe I tend to disagree with a decent amount on.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my question is, this was an impressive win. I'll get to the Rams in a second. I guess the question for the Titans is this offensive output sustainable?
No, this offensive output not sustainable. They do need to do better, but part of it is going up against a good defense, and part of it is when you get up early, you're kind of playing not to make a turnover, so you're kind of going to play a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the one thing is like, can this offense get better? I mean, obviously, I think they can throw the ball a little bit better, but it's clear that the running game's not going to be anywhere near the level of what it usually is. So it'll be interesting to see how this offense is basically adjusting on the fly this season, because I do think it's got to work out some things with the new look it's got to go towards, basically.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting test against the Saints next week, who, they're kind of a team that will kind of dare you to run the ball at times. And, no Derrick Henry. That's kind of the issue with the Titans. That's why we're still waiting to see how does this Derrick Henry less team do. So I don't know how much it says about the Titans. Like, I still don't know if they're the Super Bowl favorites in the AFC, despite having the best record. I think they've overperformed a bit, but I also think they're still very good. And I wouldn't be shocked to see him go on a run, but they probably overperformed a tad.
Yeah, I think I agree. The
Hmm.
Rams have looked. I'm trying to think of the right word. Beatable, basically, it's the right word. I think.
Well,
I
they've looked amazing in 7 games and horrible in 2.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah,
Mhm.
but the thing that's concerning is like, so you're looking through this list of teams they played, and this was what I was thinking about when I was watching them. They played two. They played three playoff teams basically, and maybe the Colts are a fringe fourth playoff team. They looked amazing in the Cardinals game, or no, sorry, they looked really bad in the Cardinals game, and they looked
Mhm.
really bad again in the Titans game. Two playoff teams. The Buccaneers game, they looked pretty good, and that was basically right off of the Buccaneers basically losing every cornerback on their roster.
Mhm.
I mean, is this team just going to be the team that beats up terrible teams and then looks bad against decent teams?
That's interesting. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is a good team. I think the Rams are a legit contender for the Super Bowl in the NFC. I think that to me, I think again we have the Bucks, the Packers, the Rams, Cardinals, and Cowboys. Still those big five. To me, they're clearly there, and I think that they're probably closer to 1 than they are to 5 in that group. So I'm going to say no. I think this is a good team who's they're beatable, but again, we talk about those splash plays can sometimes make a game misleading. I think that if Matt Stafford doesn't essentially throw 2 pick sixes, 1 pick 6 and one basically pick six, this is a different football game. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in the talent of this team, but I mean, it's kind of been my Chiefs point. Like, I believe in the talent, but sooner or later, it's got to start looking good again in the big games. We'll see how they continue to adjust. I think it's going to be fine going forward, but they have an interesting couple stretch of games here coming up with, I mean, they didn't look great last week, but on the road at the 49ers, on the road at the Packers, Jaguars at home, which is, whatever, but, and then on the road at the Cardinals. I want to see them show something in these games.
Yeah, interesting stuff. You talked about the Chiefs. Let's go there. This is our last game we're going to break down, but we might touch on some other stuff. Packers at Chiefs. This was weirdly a very exciting game. I was very much looking forward to it. We got to see Jordan Love's first performance. I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was as bad as some people were making it out to be either. He missed some throws, and there was a lot of him and Devontae Adams just weren't entirely on the same page. But I thought a lot of his decisions were good. Like early on, they were doing like some cover zero and he was getting fooled by it. But then towards the end of the game, he was doing the right thing, throwing it up. So he's learning. It's what you expect from a rookie quarterback. It's just, I think the flip side is this is kind of the argument of why you don't draft a first round quarterback when you have a team ready to compete is he's not going to help you immediately. It's going to take him some time. So maybe they should have added a tool that could help them. But what did you
Yeah.
think of this game?
I agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, I think it's incredibly hard to come in as a backup quarterback on a spot start like this. Not
Hmm.
really understanding that you had to start until the week, a few days before the game, basically. A lot of the stuff with Adams, I kind of attributed to reps. You know, I think a lot of, if they got more reps during the offseason and like during practice time, I think that would have been a pretty good connection on a few of those. Now, obviously it didn't help this week, but, and then not to mention, like, the Chiefs obviously aren't a good defense. We've touched on this. But I think Spagnuolo is kind of a defensive coordinator that can mess with young quarterbacks. I think he's one of those guys that throws different looks at them, different blitz packages at them, and makes it kind of life difficult for those quarterbacks. So I think that's a pretty tough test week one going, our first game going against Spagnuolo. So yeah, I mean, it was a tough situation to get into. He obviously didn't play well, but I thought he was okay-ish, and I thought he had some good plays there towards the end of the game. Um, the the other side of it is that, I don't know, Chiefs continue to look poor.
Yeah, I mean, it's another kind of lackluster Chiefs win. They've had a couple of these now. I mean, Mahomes hasn't looked great in 3 straight weeks now. And even in the Washington game 4 weeks ago, he had his, weirdness. And quite frankly, he hasn't looked great all season long. Uh, there were just, again, some weird stuff. It's kind of similar to the Bills thing a little bit, but this has been a several week thing of, he's missing throws he typically doesn't make. Him and Tyreek haven't been on the same page on several stuff, which is not something we typically expect. Like there was one play where it's a design to get the ball to Travis Kelce. The play works. Kelsey's wide, as open as I've ever seen Travis Kelce be open, and Mahomes still chucks it deep into double coverage, and it actually almost worked, but it was still like what are we doing here? They won the game, so you like that. But again, Mahomes' stat line, 20 for 37, only 166 yards. The bright spot, they didn't turn the ball over, but this is still just not working the way we expect the Chiefs to play, and barely beating a team that didn't have their reigning MVP.
Yeah, there wasn't, there was a lot of talk about how bad Jordan Love was after this game. Not that much worse than Patrick Mahomes, I got to say.
Right.
And, Patrick Mahomes might be the best quarterback in football. So I know that's
so does that mean Jordan Love is also maybe the best quarterback in football?
Well, I mean, I don't know. No, I don't think so. But, at the same time, perspective is, both of these guys struggled, and one is expected to kind of struggle in his first start. And one of them is reigning MVP and supposed to be the best in the world, not playing very well.
Yeah, it's really just such a fascinating situation with Kansas City. Like I keep waiting for them to turn it around, right? Like they have to at some point, right? We just keep waiting for it.
The thing is that we all watch this team and say, it's like everybody knows what the problem is, except for it seems like Kansas City, or they just don't care what the problem is. Because we've all seen this stuff and said, oh, well, I mean, they're just dropping guys deep. Obviously, this is what they're trying to do. And they just keep doubling down and say, no, this is going to work. They haven't adjusted any of these weeks. Now they're winning games, so I guess they have that going for them. But, I mean, like, everybody else sees it except for what? These guys? I don't get it. And one of them is Andy Reid, maybe the best offensive mind of this century.
Yeah, and part of it is like, we all like to neglect the quarterback position, but this is kind of one of those things like, or excuse me, not the quarterback position, the running back position, but like they could probably use a running back, especially in this game where, Darrell Williams comes in and does his best. I mean, 3.7 yards per carry. It's not horrible. Probably could run the ball more, 22 carries to 37 passing attempts. I know I'm always the throw the ball guy, but when teams are playing cover two, run the ball. But we've kind of been saying this a bit. I thought Kansas City started to do more underneath stuff. The issue is they're just not that good at it. I think that's another aspect. Like that's just not what they do very well. Like Mahomes just, getting rid of the ball. Mahomes being, if Mahomes and Mike White were combined, they'd be the best quarterback of all time.
Who knew that Sammy Watkins was so important to this offense?
No
After
kidding.
listening to Kansas City fans complain about Sammy Watkins not being healthy the last 3 years, I bet they'd kill for Sammy Watkins right about now.
Yeah, be interesting to see. Should this be an Odell Beckham team? I think yes.
I mean, he apparently the reports are that's one of the finalists.
But granted, like there's like 13 finalists. So,
well, the last report, I mean, until I heard Patriots are making a late push, the last report I heard is that it's Packers, Saints, and Chiefs.
Okay, it'll be very fun when he just goes to like some like random team that like he goes to like the Washington football team.
Great culture there. Gotta go there.
Exactly. Got to get that winning culture. All right. Let's any other stuff from the week before we get into the preview. Again, it's going to be a bit of a longer show because of we have a lot to talk about. Kyle, one thought I saw. Colt McCoy. I told you he's back. Colt McCoy finally turning his career around. 35, just getting ready.
That young upstart Colt McCoy. Watch out for him.
Name's too good to fail.
Yeah. He's basically turned, I mean, you're not going to understand this reference at all, but it's still funny. He's the Jesse Lingard of the NFL. He's a soccer player, but I find it humorous. But anyway.
I'm sure some in the chat will get it.
Yeah, I just like, what a dumb San Francisco performance, right? Like, there's really nothing else I could say. How dumb was this? Like, they have Eno Benjamin trucking guys for touchdowns. And I'm just looking at this like, they actually threw the ball well. Jimmy Garoppolo was not the problem in this game. But they fell down 14 like immediately. And then it was like, okay, this game's over. We're just going to get crushed.
Yeah, let's throw this out there. I mean, are we sleeping on Cliff Kingsbury? Like, why isn't Cliff Kingsbury like the front runner for Coach of the Year? I mean, what he's done, he's now blown out a team with Colt McCoy as his quarterback. I mean, like, and no DeAndre Hopkins either. It's not even like they had like the rest of their talent around them. Like, their two most important players weren't playing in this game, and they smoke a team who they're in a divisional matchup with. Like, Cliff Kingsbury should be at least in the Coach of the Year conversation at this point. You know, there's a couple other guys you could argue, but if I have to give it to someone, I think I give it to Kingsbury.
I think he's in the conversation. I mean, the narrative preseason was against him, and that's why it's like not happening right now. But I mean, we'll see what happens with that one. I think he's got to be in the conversation. I mean, he should be. They have the best record in the league. So I definitely think he's going to be in the conversation. I don't know if he's going to win it. I think there's a few guys you could talk yourself into right now if you're, sitting around chatting up Coach of the Year. But yeah, I mean, not only that, he lost Chase Edmonds pretty early in this game too. And he just basically said, okay, James Conner's going to take over his lead back. Eno Benjamin's coming in. I mean, this was a really good performance just overall from the Cardinals.
Yeah, we have a chat. Clias says, good Lingard reference. So there we go. You got that. Yeah, I think that this is, it's a good win for the Cardinals. Some people have talked about, is this proof that Kyler isn't actually like as valuable and he's in a good situation? The answer is no. It's not. It's that Colt McCoy hit the open receivers. He also had like a screen pass that went for like 70 yards. So that was like a big part of why his numbers look so great. But still, Colt McCoy hit the open guys, right? That's what you ask your backup to do. That's what he was able to do. And any final thoughts on the Cardinals, or should we go to, or we don't have to cover the whole game. What else do you want to talk about?
Cowboys laid an egg too. That was weird, right?
Yeah. Cowboys just completely falling apart again. I think that was a good play calling game. Not necessarily even the scheme itself, but just like they called the right plays at the right times, I thought. Like certain blitzes that blew up plays Dallas had. That's what I saw when I studied the tape.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was just a professional performance. Maybe they're better without two teams played better without their stars. It was Broncos played better without Von Miller, and then once again the Browns offense played better without Odell.
Right. I mean we got I mean it's just official at this point, right? Like the Browns are better without Odell.
Yeah, I mean I don't know maybe this locker room stuff's true, or maybe he's in Baker's head and that stuff's true. I don't know. I don't like believing in a lot of these narratives, but at the same time, he's clearly a different quarterback when he is not on the field. So it was a weird thing. And then, kudos to the Broncos for this win. We all basically writ them off, even though they were 4-4. They're back over 500 now.
Yeah,
really weird
I was shocked when I saw that they were 5-4. I was like, oh right, yeah, they're over. Like that record just like did not sit in my brain correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very weird. What other games did you notice? I mean,
Vikings Ravens was a very entertaining game. I didn't think Lamar had his best game, but came through when it mattered most at the end there. The overtime interception wasn't his fault, so that was a fun game. The Vikings are, I think, dead at this point, but it looked like they had life for a second.
I was thinking this too, but at the same time, they're not really dead.
Yeah, that's true. The 7 seed is open.
The Falcons are 4-4 in the 7 seed, and the Falcons won in the most Falcons way possible. Like the Falcons did everything they could to lose that game and still managed to win it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to think about so many of these teams. Like the NFC, they had that one spot basically up for grabs. Like, there's going to be a really bad team that wins that 7 spot in the NFC, and then the AFC. The Colts have looked uninspiring at times, and they got Carson Wentz. The Browns finally came alive. The Bengals look like they're falling apart. The Broncos week to week are a completely different football team. The Patriots, they have 5 wins, but they played the Jets' third best quarterback in 2 of those games. I mean, like, I just don't know. I don't know. I feel so weird because it feels like I don't know. I don't remember an NFL season where it's week 9 and I'm like, I don't really know what to think about these teams.
Right. Usually you have some sort of idea. Yeah, I made a comment. I did a horrible idea. On Thursday, I did a live stream of the Jets-Colts game, thinking like, okay, we'll talk about Mike White. It'll be entertaining. At least you did basically a spit take for all the audio only listeners while you heard me say that. I figured we'll talk about Mike White. That'll be entertaining. Mike White gets injured in the first quarter. Josh Johnson now does well. I saw a comment where it's like the Jets are so bad, their quarterback depth chart is upside down, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, it might as well be at this. I don't know. It's very weird stuff. I mean, Josh, what is it? Josh Johnson?
Josh Johnson, Buccaneers legend.
Josh Johnson. Isn't that a singer? Or is
I
that
don't know.
Jake
He was
Johnson?
a pitcher for a while for the Marlins.
Oh, who's the banana pancake singer? I think that's Jake Johnson.
Okay.
Anyway,
Someone in the chat, let us know. Kyle doing a lot of references that I'm not getting tonight.
I don't know. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I mean, I think that touches on everything week 9. We can move on to week 10.
Yeah, fun week. Hopefully this one is just as entertaining. Not fun. Kyle, you've been on a roll recently. I have not been. 28-23. You have the lead in the Pick'em show. 5-point lead. How are you feeling?
I'm surprised that I did that well given all the upsets last week. Obviously hitting the lock with the Patriots was the big thing too. So
yeah, the nice thing is we both had a lot of, neither one of us did well. It was just you did better than me, I think is really what it came down to.
Yeah, so I'll take that. Racking up these locks now, feeling good.
And you know what's funny about last week is that we both predicted like a bunch of like upsets, and then those weren't the ones that happened. Like we predicted like it was like other ones that were wrong. So we did even worse. Also, we're getting some Jack Johnsons in the chat. So there you go.
Jack Johnson, there it is.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm gonna give you the first game. And let's not bury the lead here. It's the thumbnail game. It's the one we're all interested in. I'm going to give you Chiefs at Raiders. Very fascinating game with where these two teams are at. Where are you going?
Oh gosh, this was second on my list. Mainly because I just didn't want to pick my first game. I had it listed Raiders, but I'm going to talk this out a little bit before I officially decide. I think the Raiders are due for a bounce back week. I think that their offense can move the ball in this Chiefs defense. And we've seen the roadmap to beat the Kansas City Chiefs now. The blueprint is out there. The game plan's out there. And honestly, you probably have to credit the Raiders for designing that game plan to beat the Chiefs and the way to design, construct that defense. Now they actually
whoa. I don't agree with that at all. You got to credit the Buccaneers for doing it.
Well, the Raiders did it in the regular season. Now they didn't slow them down because they didn't have good defensive players. But now they have some pretty good.
I gotta give. The Raiders played a lot of cover 3. The Buccaneers were the first team to really do the cover 2 a lot. The Raiders didn't blitz, so they kind of got halfway there. But I think that the Buccaneers did the other. I think there's a significant difference.
Okay, well, I think they at least have good defenders now, so they're going to be able to. I think they're going to be able to defend them a little bit, especially as we've seen this Chiefs team really start to struggle. I think I'm going to go with the Raiders still. I think I'm going to pick this one. I'm going with the Raiders on the upset upset for a -2.5 spread. I feel pretty good about this team being able to move the ball. I feel like it's desperate. I know that things aren't really going well in Las Vegas just in terms of, players with getting cut, players, going to jail, players going on Instagram or whatever it was. But
the 3 biggest sins.
Yeah,
going to jail and going on Instagram.
Yeah, that was a weird thing. I mean, Ruggs and Arnett. How crazy is that? So, I mean, we don't have to touch on that, but it's just like, I still believe in this team. I still believe in Derek Carr. I think he's going to get it done.
Yeah, Luke Brown, who has a new profile picture of a cat. I found out during the live stream, Luke Brown, that picture he had, that's not even Luke Brown. That's just some picture he found.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
But yeah, homer sighting, yes, very much so. I every now and then I'll be a homer. I think when I want to be. I mean, listen, I just looked it up. The Raiders gave up 35 points in one of those games and 32 points in the other game. The way they beat the Chiefs once and nearly beat them twice was by scoring 71 points combined in those 2 games.
Yeah, but holding the Chiefs to 32 points is like a monumental success for the Raiders defense last year. Did you see Paul Gunther last year? I mean,
that's fair. Fair enough.
Do we need to pull up the tape on those guys?
Yeah, the fact they got any stops was you got me there. But yeah, I'm actually interested in, do the Raiders shift to more of a cover 2 team? They basically just do what they do. They play cover 3 a lot. Do they put that second safety back here? They cover better this year than they have in past maybe 2 decades. I don't know. So the fact that they can, they don't necessarily have to this could be a situation where Kansas City, I mean, the Raiders basically just do what they do. I could see this being a bounce back week offensively for Mahomes. The flip side is, do you trust Kansas City to be able to stop anything the Raiders do? It should be an interesting and a high scoring game.
If I gave you this one, who would you have picked?
If you gave me,
I'm not going to change now. Who would you have picked, basically?
Okay, I had the Raiders written down in my notes as well, which is interesting because the Chiefs are favorites despite being on the road here. Do you think that that's maybe disrespectful to the Raiders? Chiefs being favored on the road?
I think so. I mean, talent-wise and what we've seen on the field, I think so. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is this Raiders team just has so much bad vibes right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really hard to like feel good about anything with this Raiders team, just with the state of the team. And it seems like that Carr is really kind of trying to galvanize these guys that are in the locker room and make this work. But at the same time, there's only so much you can do when guys are dropping like flies, it seems like at this point. But I do think that if they manage to bounce, like I think if they win this game, they bounce back and make the playoffs. If they lose this game, I'm kind of thinking that it's going south.
Yeah, it should be fascinating. And again, I'm very interested in seeing how the Chiefs defense attacks this, or excuse me, how the Raiders defense attacks this Chiefs offense, because the Raiders also kind of make an effort on stopping the run. Like, this is not what you do against the Chiefs. You let them throw on you. You let them run on you. You don't let them throw on you. So I think it's possible we could see sort of a Tyreek Hill kind of burning Casey Hayward for a big touchdown in this one. I think we could see that. The flip side is, the Chiefs defense has played better as of recently, but it's still not a good defense. And I could see the Raiders throwing all over as well. So yeah. I really don't know. That's why I gave it to you. I don't want to pick it.
Yeah. Chris Jones looked pretty good back at defensive tackle. I got to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Dick Fatel, good to see him here in the chat. Says it seems like the Deshaun Jackson signing feels bigger than even the player. Yeah, they could use that speed as well to sort of make up for Ruggs. So very interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how it all balances out. I think I'm leaning Raiders now. We'll see how this one plays out for sure. Ready for the next game?
Yeah, let's do it. You give me a game here.
All right. I'm passing this one off to you. I don't want to pick it. I kind of like my team in this one, but still don't want to pick it. Browns at Patriots.
Yeah, kind of feeling when you said you don't want to pick it. I'm like, okay, I see where you're going here. Browns at Patriots. Patriots are favored by 1.5 here at home. So it's a very fascinating game. I do think I am going to go Cleveland here. I think I like what I saw from Cleveland when they got rid of, Odell. I think that Baker does play better without this. I think they've been playing good defense. It's another very fascinating game. I'm going to pick Cleveland. What do you think here?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Nick Chubb ends up playing, because if he plays, I think it becomes an interesting matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Our defensive line and linebackers have become very good at stopping the run the last few weeks, and that's something that's really impressed me. I thought they'd done a really good job of it the past couple games. I even thought they did a good job against the Chargers. They just broke like 2 big runs. And outside of those 2 big runs, I thought the Patriots did a fantastic job. I thought Godchau's really stepped up and made some things happen. And, even though Hightower kind of looks a step slower, I still think his run defense has been pretty good this season. So I do think that we could kind of manage this game again and kind of grind it out as we have been this year. The problem is, too, Chubb might be out. The injuries are starting to pile up on the Patriots side, too, specifically in the offensive side of the ball, where Damian Harris has a concussion. He's in protocol. Not sure if he's going to play. Ramondre Stevenson is in concussion protocol. Not sure if he's going to play. A huge part of our team lately has been the special teams part. Gunnar Olszewski, one of the best punt returners in the league. He's in concussion protocol after taking a blatant helmet-to-helmet hit that somehow didn't get called. Not very bitter about that. Nothing, but, let's complain about an ankle for the next 20 minutes. So, anyways, I'm going to get some rude comments in the chat.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. No, what did you think of the Mac Jones, viciously tearing apart Brian Burns' ankle?
I mean, completely ripping off his foot and then like beating it to death with the meat cleaver.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bad play. It was bad luck. But at the same time, like, to say that he didn't think that Brian Burns had the ball, he clearly can't see the ball. I mean, I kind of believe what he's saying, that, hey, I thought he had the ball. I was just trying to tackle him. I don't think he's purposely saying, let me sprain this guy's ankle here to make sure he never plays again. It's just like get over yourself, man. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, it was a bad look though.
I like the it always sucks to see someone get hurt. I didn't think it was I don't know if it's malicious. Again, no one can get in Mac Jones' head other than himself. Only he knows what he was doing. Seemed like he was probably, I doubt that he was trying to injure someone there. I did find it a little funny about like the Brian Burns. I forget what exactly he said, but something about he's going to be coming after Mac Jones. Like, okay, yes, the heated Patriots Panthers rivalry that they're going to see each other all the time. So in another 4 years, buddy, you better look out.
He won't be on the Panthers in 4 years, probably. I shouldn't say that. But at the same time, I don't know. Joe Mannix brings up a good point. Belichick worried about Garrett Clowney. I would be too, especially with the way Isaiah Wynn's played this season. Isaiah Wynn has not been very good at left tackle. I think that's going to be a problem if he continues to play bad against those two because they're going to get after him. Michael Onyenwu has been good on the other side, and there's a chance Trent Brown comes back. We're not sure yet, but we're like I'm on the team. There's a chance Trent Brown comes back. Not sure yet, but at the same time, I'm not sure he's going to be up to standard yet to play. Onwenu has been pretty good at the tackle spot, though.
Yeah, you said we there, and it was a totally appropriate time to say we. You just said we're not sure if he's going to be back yet or not. Like that it could be the football community as the we.
I'm the 54th person on the team. That's the way I view it.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's fine. I've always said we. So, yeah, it should be a fascinating game. I think these are two teams that I feel like they're better than their record says. So it's always interesting when this kind of situation happens, which team is actually going to pull off the victory.
Yeah. No, I do think it's going to be a really good matchup because it's two teams that kind of not really similar styles, but at the same time like to do the same things. They both like to run the ball. They both prioritize the run. And it could come down to which of these quarterbacks that makes throws, which one of these quarterbacks isn't making mistakes specifically, because with JC Jackson back there, he's prone to get an interception. Adrian Phillips has had a couple interceptions this year. Devin McCourty still has, the capabilities of making plays. And then the Brown secondary also can make some plays. So it could come down to which quarterback doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, but the flip side, though, is it might not be J.C. Jackson they're throwing to. It might be some of these, third corners they're going after because the Browns do have a sort of a plethora of good options.
They have. Jalen Mills has been pretty good this year. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all balances out. I'm curious, especially with McDaniels against Stefanski, how this has played out and how these two teams approach this game.
Yeah, it should be a fascinating one. Let's move on. Why don't you give me a game? Or no, I give you a game. Sorry. Yeah. I'm going to give you, we got to get through this one. I'm going to give you Eagles at Broncos.
This was next on my list too. I just put the Broncos here. I guess I still don't like this Broncos team, even with that Cowboys win. But like you said, that was just a perfectly constructed game and they managed to execute. And right now I think I just trust them a little more than the Eagles. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah. Couldn't you see, though, the Eagles maybe having some success running the football against this team, especially if they try to play their quarters coverage that they have in the past?
Yes, definitely. That's the thing I'm worried about is because, Broncos are one of those teams that, kind of like some of the other teams we talked about, they play their style. They play their system. They're going to drop back into coverage. Jalen Hurts could have a big game that way. But at the same time, I can still see the Broncos defensive line kind of getting after them.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's certainly possible. And again, we kind of talked about the flip side is, the Broncos, they'll drop back and play coverage, which that can be a bad thing for Jalen Hurts, who likes it when he's got man coverage he's looking at and can run with the football as opposed to the zone that you typically play, that the Denver Broncos typically play.
Yeah. So I think it'll be an interesting matchup, and I think it's a really close game. Even, despite the records, I think these teams aren't far off from each other. So yeah, I'm interested to see how the Broncos approach this defensively. And then I'm also interested to see when the Eagles win, it's kind of like their defensive line takes over. Bless you.
Thank you.
And it's can the Eagles defensive line take over in this game and make some plays and slow down this Broncos offense enough?
Yeah. It should be fascinating. I mean, I think I agree. The flip side is I do think the Denver Broncos should be able to move the ball somewhat effectively against the Eagles as well. Not sure if it'll be a high-scoring game because I could see both teams running the ball a decent amount, but it should be fascinating. And these are two teams that, if you're in the locker room of one of these two teams, you're like, if you're an Eagles or Broncos fan, you've convinced yourself that you have a chance to make the playoffs, given the the weakness of there's not really a wide open 7 seed in the NFC, and the Broncos are over 500. So neither one of these teams are dead.
No, they're not dead. The Eagles are a game back basically. And I think the Broncos are basically back by tiebreaker. So, it's really interesting to see how this all plays out. But yeah, I mean, I do think that the Broncos should win this one.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. Why don't you give me a game?
I will do Vikings at Chargers.
Okay, next on my list as well. We seem to be a bit in lockstep here so far. Feel relatively similar about all these games. It's tough. Like, there's the weird Dalvin Cookness of it all now. So I don't know if he's going to play. I believe he still could. So we'll see how that goes. So that's an aspect of this because, the Chargers are a team that they sort of invite the run. And by that, you kind of think it's a good matchup for Minnesota. They can run on the Chargers. The flip side, though, is I think the Chargers can throw the ball very effectively against Minnesota. You know what? I'm going to go against my notes here, which usually isn't a good thing. I'm going to pick Minnesota. I just think that this is the kind of matchup that they like. This is the kind of team that will let them run. They can run, the Chargers out of cover 2 and then throw the ball. They should be able to move the ball effectively. I know that the Vikings have a much worse record than the Chargers. I just like that matchup. And I do think the Vikings at times have had some decent coverage. So I'm going to pick Minnesota, but I think this could go either way.
Yeah, that was a really weird game last Sunday. The Ravens did a good job making yet another comeback win. But I watched it because we talked about it the other day with the Cowboys-Vikings game where Minnesota went down on the first drive and scored. And we talked about it was weird that they were this ultra-aggressive offense and said, hey, let's never do that again. And they didn't do it the rest of the game. And then I was like, they kind of did the same thing against the Browns too, and they lost 14-7. And then they went and did the same thing again in this one. So I actually went through and looked at all the numbers for this. So I investigated every first drive the Vikings have had, all 8 first drives the Vikings have had this season, compared it. You ready for this? The thing is they're not necessarily running the ball more on the first drive or throwing the ball more on the first drive compared to the rest of the game. It's 59% it's 58% on first drives passing compared to 42 running, and it's 59% passing compared to 41 running the rest of the game. The weird thing they're doing, though, is they're less aggressive. They're less aggressive, and when you watch the Vikings, it's very obvious that they're a less aggressive football team after the first drive of the game. And I continue to watch this and say, I don't know why they do this. So I was going through it. On their opening drive of the first 8 games of the season, they've had 5 passing touchdowns, 2 field goals, and 1 punt. And on that 1 punt drive, which was the first game of the season against the Bengals, Kirk Cousins was 4 for 5 for 38 yards, and they had 4 offensive penalties that forced them to punt.
Okay.
So then, you look through the numbers for the season, Kirk Cousins, excuse me, they have 68% passing percentage, 7.1 yards per attempt, 16 touchdowns. They've been sacked 10 times. Cousins on opening drives the first 8 games of the season, 26 of 31, that's 84%. 408 yards, 13.16 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 0 sacks. This is like the best. Yeah, this is the best offense in football on the opening drive of the games. And then they stopped doing it. They stopped playing like the best offense in the league. I seriously don't understand why they do this.
That's incredible stuff there by you, Kyle. That's over 4 yards per drive. Over 4. Well, it is over 4 yards per drive, but also over 4 points per drive, which would be by far and away the best in football. Maybe they should change things up a little bit. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there obviously is some like weirdness to it because they have like a 64-yard touchdown pass and a 50-yard touchdown pass. But the other part of this thing is that we continue to watch this thing and say, hey, in the second half of games, they don't really throw the ball down the field. I don't understand why. Now, this is definitely not the matchup to do it. But at the same time, like, I almost feel like the Vikings are built as a team that could throw on anyone. Doesn't matter the matchup.
Yeah, well, they could. They choose not to. We should, The flip side is, I kind of said about the Chargers, I do feel like this team is very Justin Herbert dependent. The flip side is like Justin Herbert's playing really good. Like he was awesome against the Eagles last week. I mean, he like had he had a couple of throws that were just absurd. He had like one where he's like throwing across his body 55 yards down the field, which resulted in a big play. I can't remember if it was a touchdown or not. But like that's kind of the thing. It's like, okay, it's all right to be one player dependent if that player is playing at an elite level at the quarterback position. And, Herbert's another guy who could maybe, I think I said he should be in the consideration for the MVP consideration.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's in the MVP consideration yet, but we should consider him for it.
I think so. I'm just not really sure how I feel about this team yet either. I don't know if it's a good team because, like you said, they're dependent on the one guy, but it's like the Eagles are matching him basically point for point until the very end. He manages to pull that game out. I just don't know if you can consistently rely on that, no matter how good he is.
Yeah, I think I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to the next game. So I'm going to give you a game here. I am going to give you another marquee game, what could have been a thumbnail game. How about Seahawks at Packers? We should have both Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers back. Where are you going here?
Yeah, so that's the question, right? Because they said Rodgers can be activated Saturday. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay. But Wilson is back.
Yeah,
I'm still going to go with the Packers. I almost locked this one up, but I'm not going to do it just because I don't like that 3.5 hook. I think the Packers are a better team. I think they're kind of, it's going to be interesting to see once again, Seahawks have good receivers. How's that man coverage going to hold up? The thing is, we keep saying about the Packers, and they tend to hold up just fine. They tend to do okay no matter what. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up with the Seahawks offense, especially if Wilson's back out there throwing the ball. But I just think if Rodgers is on the field, I just trust the Packers to win.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I also would go to Packers. For one thing, complete chaos always breaks out when these two teams play each other. I mean, we talk about the Seahawks never play a normal game. Well, it's twice as weird when they play the Packers. I mean, you think about the Fail Mary, you think about that NFC Championship game, which was like the weirdest game in NFL history. Like chaos always breaks out between these two teams.
Yeah. So looking forward to it. I think this will be a really fun game. Yeah, I mean, I just think that I still kind of just feel like that the Packers are going to be able to defend anyone. I think this defense is good. And I think the offense is, obviously has Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, so that helps.
Yeah, the offense should be better than it was. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that defense could defend anyone, but it has been playing very good these past few weeks. So I'll meet you meet you halfway there.
Okay, fair.
They couldn't defend Jameis Winston.
I mean, who can?
Right. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, the future Hall of Famer.
I mean, that was like they've kind of talked about how they felt like that was basically just like a preseason game.
I mean, I'm joking about the week one thing. Their defense has played well this season.
Yeah, but no, I think that's probably fair. But I think it's still a pretty good matchup for them overall.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it's like, okay, it's like, who do you like better, Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? This season, you could argue either one, I think. But the reality is, like, what supporting cast do you like better? Sure, like the Seahawks have two great receivers, but the Packers have the better one out there, and they have some role players who can catch as well. It's like the Packers might be better across the board everywhere else. But again, the flip side is like, hey, all that has to happen is Russell Wilson gets hot and the Seahawks win, which is why I like you picking this game instead of me.
Yeah. No, that's a completely fair pick. I think it's the right pick, too, to pick at this stage. We, like you said, basically, except for the top two games, we've had every game the same level.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one, unless you had anything to add. Where do you want to go here?
I'm going to go with Saints at Titans for the next game.
Yeah, I think this is it's a good pick here. I think it's such an interesting game. This is one of those, like, I don't know a lot about these teams. I think the Saints are just like mediocre, but they're just kind of, they blew out the Packers and then they got blown out by the Panthers. So they're a really hard team to gauge of how good they are. And they've kind of been fluky, beat the Buccaneers, lose to the Falcons. We don't know exactly where they're at. The Titans, we also don't know exactly where they're at because we've only seen them with one game without Derrick Henry. The offense didn't look great. I think I got to go to Titans to win this game. They've proven that they're a good team. But you could absolutely see the Saints sort of pulling this kind of thing off for sure. And this is kind of what the Saints do: is they win games you don't expect them to win. So I think it's, again, good pick here. Although I am picking Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that the Saints defense would have to carry them in this game. And I think that's going to be the big thing. We'll see how that happens. I don't know if they can. I mean, obviously they can't because they've done it all season, basically. I do think so. If this pass rush gets to Simeon a little bit, you're probably going Taysom Hill sooner rather than later, right?
I'm a little surprised. Like, I mean, if Hill's healthy, like have him be the quarterback, right? Like why is what wasn't there? I mean, Taysom Hill started the preseason, and then it seemed like Jameis Winston won the job during preseason. So I don't get why you'd intentionally have Simeon over Taysom Hill.
I really don't know. And especially, it's not like you can say, oh, because Michael Thomas is out there, he likes Simeon more. It works better for the passing game. There's really no excuse for it at this point.
Is part of it like they want Odell Beckham Jr. and they want to say, no, we do actually throw the ball sometimes?
I mean, maybe. I guess if that's really what you want to do. I don't know. I think it should be Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Taysom Hill at least has shown more. But, again, kind of one of those things. Sean Payton knows more than we do. If he thinks that Simeon should be the guy, he's probably right.
That's probably fair. I'm willing to relent on the fact that Sean Payton is probably a smarter coach than me.
Maybe. You're pretty smart.
I'd like to think so, but
but for some reason, a team has yet to offer you a coaching job, despite finishing second place last year in the Pick'em show.
Second place last year in the Pick'em show. Hey, I'm a 3-time fantasy football champion, sir.
Whoa!
You better watch out. No.
All right, so I'm sure GMs will be calling you soon. About this game should be interesting. I don't really have too much else to add. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup, and once again, another test for this Titans offense, like you said.
Yeah. All right. Time for me to give you a game. I made that mistake a couple times already. Not sure why. I think in my notes, I'm thinking that my name is Kyle for some reason. I'm gonna give you. This might feel like a reach, but I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you Jaguars at Colts. Colts are 10.5-point favorites after blowing out the Jets. Where are you going here? I have a guess where you're going.
You have a guess? What's your guess?
I think you're going to pick Jacksonville. I think you're picking a big up. I think you're locking up Jacksonville, actually.
I am not going to lock up Jacksonville. I'm going to take the Colts. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win by a lot. I mean, despite despite his 4 stupid throws a game, Carson Wentz has been pretty good. He played really well in that Jets game. Granted, it's the Jets, but the Jaguars are also the Jaguars. I think the Colts should win this game pretty handily. Jonathan Taylor should have a big game in this one. So yeah, I like the Colts.
Yeah. Well, here's why I gave it to you. The Colts defense sucks. I mean, the Colts defense just got lit up by Josh Johnson. They can't cover for the life of them. And the flip side is, the Jaguars at least looked competent. This should be a high scoring game. I think bet the over in this one, I would assume. And that's kind of why I feel like I kind of like all the favorites from here on out. I don't think there's a team that I feel I don't know how this is going to go. So I think it's I could easily see there sort of being one of these, I could see this going the wrong way for the Colts. Not saying I think it's going to happen, but the way I view it, once you get to these, is who has the highest chance of winning? I think there's a chance that the Colts blow it.
There's a chance. I mean, I'm giving the Colts. I mean, their defense definitely hasn't been great this season. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt off of last week because the game was basically over. I mean, 14 points in the fourth quarter when it was basically garbage time. I'm giving them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I think it's better than sucks, but I don't know.
I think their defense sucks. I think they can't cover.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I still think it's going to have to be the Jaguars, obviously. So yeah,
sure.
Yeah, just there should be enough to win. You shouldn't mess around with this game. I mean, the Colts really don't have any margin for error anymore. They have to show for this game.
Yeah, I mean, and just to be clear, the correct pick is the Colts should win. They should be able to pull this one off. I just think that I could at least at the very least see some sort of Trevor Lawrence good stat line day. Zachary Stewart says Jags have as many wins against teams with winning records so far as the Buccaneers. I feel like I keep hearing that a lot. Last year the Bucs didn't beat a playoff team all year in the regular season. We won the Super Bowl. I'm not concerned.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. So I don't. I'm willing to say I think the Bucs are better than the Jaguars.
I'm not sure. We need to see a couple more weeks.
That's my hot take.
Mhm.
We can move on from this one. You want me to pick?
Yeah. Well, one last final thought. We keep talking about both these bad defenses. In terms of points per drive, Colts are 19th, Jaguars are 21st. So they're both right around the same there. But obviously, you expect Colts offense, you expect that to do better. Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah. I had another curveball too. I had this one a little higher than another game. I'm going to go with Falcons at Cowboys for the next one.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't hate this. It's a 9.5 point spread that feels high to me. I don't know if I would go. I don't know if I'd bet on the Cowboys if you're giving 9.5. But in terms of who's going to win, I do still pick Dallas. I think they had a tough week last week. I think it was more fluky than it was actually an issue with them. I don't think there's any blueprint or anything like that. I think just it was kind of one of those games. I think Dallas should be able to do well. Although I do have a question for you, Kyle. My question is, Matt Ryan's playing better. Is it time to start taking the Falcons seriously? I mean, they're currently in a playoff spot. Is this simply kind of like a Chicago Bears situation last year where really the 7th seed kind of doesn't deserve a playoff spot? Or are they legitimately, should we take them seriously?
No, I'm not taking them seriously yet.
Okay.
But I do think that they can kind of move the ball. They've found this weird. They've just found this weird setup. They go to Kyle Pitts a bunch with Calvin Ridley out. They go to Cordarrelle Patterson a bunch in the running and passing game. And they've just kind of found this duo of not stiffs, and they basically roll with it and hope it works out. And these two guys are playing really good football, and Matt Ryan's playing good football. So I kind of like that. I do think if the Cowboys won last week, I think this could be an upset game. But I think after Cowboys coming off a loss, bounce back and get this one at home.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, the Cordarrelle Patterson thing is just absolutely absurd, right? I mean, I believe he's Pro Football Focus's #1 rated running back at this point, which it's hard to call him a running back because he does both so much. But I mean, the guy's he was a career special teams guy who's 30 years old. He was strictly just a kick return guy for the most part. I remember he contributed some in New England and stuff like that. But now he just comes off and it's playing really good football. I know we've talked about it a lot already, but I feel it's still, you can't talk enough about it with how insane it's been.
So just real quickly, not that anybody cares about my fantasy football team, but I'll just touch on it quickly because I did a 2-quarterback auction league and prioritized running backs basically, and I ended up with Kamara, Taylor, and Derrick Henry after a trade. Nice. Those are my 3 running backs, and then I got Patterson off of waivers. And so basically, I went this whole season up until Henry getting hurt, having 4 top 10 running backs, and so I lose Henry, and I still have 3 top 10 running backs in my group.
Yeah, that's good. I know from what I understand, people love hearing people talk about fantasy.
Everyone loves hearing about my fantasy football team is the way I think. Yeah, I mean, it's been really weird to just see this work out. They need to get Tavon Austin. I'm sure Arthur Smith finds a way to unlock him too.
Right.
But hey, I think it's working for them, so they should just keep doing it, I guess. I don't think Mike Davis has been very good this season. That was someone they were kind of relying on. So this Patterson thing has kind of been godsend.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, I think to me, the more interesting question with the Falcons is, you have another half of the season to figure it out. But, what do you do with the Matt Ryan thing? If Matt Ryan's, still a pretty good quarterback, but not the elite quarterback he has been in the past, it's kind of just what do you do with this piece? He's do you try to do a Matt Stafford-esque trade with him to rebuild? They're such a unique team that we don't see this kind of team too often.
Yeah, I really don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that's approached this offseason. I guess it really comes down to what Smith and the front office think the state of the Falcons team is. Because if this team makes the playoffs, you probably could talk yourself into adding pieces around Matt Ryan and running it back. But if this team misses the playoffs, you probably think you're selling at this point because he's not going to get any younger. I don't know. That's kind of how I view it.
Or could they have an Atlanta Braves-esque run and win the Super Bowl? Maybe that's the key to Atlanta sports winning, is to make it seem like you're never going to win up until you win.
I'm willing to bet that's not going to happen.
All right. Fair. Maybe probably a smart bet there. Let's move on. Unless you had anything else that you wanted to add.
No, I think we just about covered it. So,
all right. I'm going to give you, feels like kind of, a bit of a steal this late in the draft. The 4-point spread, Rams at Niners. I think we both feel better about the Rams than the spread, but where are you going here?
I'm going Rams because I'm locking up the Rams -4. I
All
think the
right.
49ers are dead. I think this team's done. I think it's a lost season. I don't think they've played very good football, and I think they're going to get crushed again in this one like they did last week. I think they're struggling to stop the pass. I think they're struggling to stop the run. I think they're struggling to stop anything on defense. And this team, for what Kyle Shanahan typically likes to do, isn't running the ball particularly well either. You could say Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle has been the best part of this offense, and Deebo Samuel too. I've really liked Deebo this year. You could say the best part of their offense has been those three players this season, or best part of their team, honestly. I think the 49ers are dead this season. I think it's a lost year with all the injuries and just the stuff.
Yeah, here's one interesting stat I saw. We always talk about Shanahan as this great, gets his offenses to run the ball so effectively. Well, ever since he left the Washington Redskins, where they had RG3 who was helping them run, so that's kind of a weird thing to go. They've only had a top 10 running game in terms of yards per carry twice. His coach teams, whether that's as an offensive coordinator or a head coach. Interestingly, both those times they went to the Super Bowl. So, that is a little, I think, an interesting factor. Although a team that does like to run the ball should have success against the Rams. Although, again, you have to deal with that Aaron Donald guy, so you got to figure that out. But at least, you should have an extra guy in the box with the way that the Rams, or I guess one less guy in the box with the way the Rams like to cover. So at least you have that.
And you got a full week of Von Miller practicing too. So it may not matter if there's one less guy in the box at this point. Yeah, so I think the Rams are going to win this one pretty handily. I think they win it by 2 touchdowns.
Yes. New Master 60 Mime in the chat says he said the R word with a surprise emoji. I mean, you can say, if you're going back to talking about the 2013 Washington football team, I think it's fair to refer to them as the Redskins, correct?
Call them the Washington R words.
Washington R words. There we go. That's our okay. Should we put that into the banner instead of balls? Is now call them the R words.
I mean, the balls is an iconic nickname. We can't.
Yeah, you can't change that.
I mean, we can call them the Washington Caucasians if we want to.
I think we're all right. Let's stick with balls. Somehow, balls is, I think, the one that will get us in the least amount of trouble out of all this.
Yeah, that's probably fair. By the way, I'm sorry if anyone's hearing this behind me, but apparently the storm is really bad. I don't know if the mic's catching it. So
I think maybe faintly. So that's good. We still have to talk about this game. We can't get out of it, Kyle. And I know you're done with the 49ers. I don't know. I think the 49ers are they're not great. I mean, at what point do you pull the plug and just see what you have in Trey Lance?
I don't know. I guess probably when they're out of the playoff spot.
Yeah. When you so maybe the final 6 weeks or so, if they're out of it then.
Yeah, if they seem just about out of it, or it's they're 2 games back, I would say let's just see what Lance got this season and figure it out from there.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is Lance is starting next year no matter what, right? He can look horrible the last 6 weeks of the year. He has to play next year. You invested so much in this pick.
Yeah, I mean, they have no draft picks for the next 2 years. I mean, this is kind of like Kyle Shanahan, too, to some degree. I mean, he's on the hot seat right now. For him, there's part of a bit of it hey, if Lance doesn't play, I definitely have a job next year. They're not going to let someone else try to establish Lance, which kind of seems crazy to say. But, we have the stat that's come out now of Matt Nagy has a higher win percentage than Kyle Shanahan, which, of course, is unfair, but still kind of funny.
I mean, it's completely fair right now. What are we talking about? This is, I mean, I know Nagy inherited a lot.
Right. Well, Matt Nagy won games on the back of his defense that he had no part of because Vic Fangio was running it. Kyle Shanahan is an offensive-minded coach who, I mean, I guess you could argue when they went to the Super Bowl, that was his defense in large part as well. But at least for him, Shanahan has a track record of going to a Super Bowl and leading, one of the greatest offenses of all time. Matt Nagy has a track record of making his offenses look absolutely absurd, and then his defense is still finding ways to win games.
Sure, but he's also an under 500 coach who's supposed to be a genius. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like that what we've seen of Shanahan now, I think he should be on the hot seat. I think he's not performing well. He's not performing up to the standards of an NFL head coach. And I mean, honestly, if he wasn't Kyle Shanahan, I think anybody would be calling for his job right now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're right. I mean, he definitely has a good track record. I do still think it's. I mean, the reality is like his job. I think is going to hinder on if Trey Lance works. If he hits that pick, you're fine. You're good. Congratulations. If he misses it, I mean, there is a part of me that feels like right now, where are the 49ers if they had Mac Jones? Everyone made fun of me for saying I would have rather had Mac Jones than Trey Lance. I mean, I think they probably have more than 3 wins if they had Mac Jones right now.
I think our most controversial pick when we did the mock draft was that I took Mac Jones 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to say, I'm patting myself on the back here. As of right now, my Mac Jones take dating back to the June before his Alabama season might age as my best take of all time.
Yeah, it's up there. It's definitely ahead of, your Antoine Winfield is a first round talent. That one was good, but I think this one's surpassed it, perhaps.
It could be. Winfield is a really good player, though. So I mean, but yeah, we can move on. I'm done bragging about myself now.
No, it's always good to brag about yourself. I was trying to think what my best take is, but we will maybe another show. Let's go to.
No.
Yeah, hey, I'm still a believer. All right, I'm not going to give up hope. Okay. You give me a game here.
I will give you what's next on my list here. Panthers Cardinals, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, this is not really an interesting game. I guess the one thing about it is we don't know how healthy the Cardinals will be. So maybe there could be upset potential there if there's still some lingering issues with the health. Quite frankly, I think a Colt McCoy-led team beats the Panthers as well. The Panthers, one of the all-time falls from grace after 3 weeks. I'm trying to think of I think the Vikings were 5-0 and then completely collapsed one year. We've had a couple of those. But, I mean, from 3-0 and looking good to, I mean, the Panthers look like they might be one of the worst teams in football after what they're doing. I think Darnold is hurt, so they have that going for them. But other than that, I think this is a tough team.
Yeah, it might help them, honestly. So, yeah, I mean, the Cardinals should win this one easily. But, yeah, the Panthers are in bad shape. There's rumors circulating that Matt Rule wants to go back to college now. And that's a real possibility. I mean, I don't believe it. But at the same time, this has gotten kind of weird. This gotten a little weird. Here's my question: Does Sam Darnold play one more NFL down the rest of his career?
Yeah, some stupid team is going to have him be their starter next year. People love Sam Darnold. I don't. No, of course, Sam Darnold is tough. Sam Darnold will have a 15-year career in the NFL. People are still convinced, due to his college tape, that he's going to be good.
Are we sure? How many quarterbacks have we ever seen get 3 shots?
I mean, no, I get your point. No, realistically, I don't think so. I think he'll probably get another snap in the NFL. I don't think he could ever I think there's a legitimate chance when he gets healthy he'll be the starter, just because who else do the Panthers have? But I think that this is the last year that the team is going to really let him be a starter. I was more making a joke on the fact I don't know why the Panthers did this to begin with. I got criticism for not liking the move at the time. And I think, this might be my best take, is that Sam Darnold still sucks.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on the Darnold thing for basically the whole offseason. I mean, he's not good.
Right.
And he was bad in this game, whether he was hurt or not. And it's a bad shape. We'll see what happens with that. I mean, like you said, he'll probably play another down. He'll probably get a backup job. But, I mean, there's really no excuse to ever name him your starter again.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Josh Rosen technically still on an NFL team? Don't the Falcons still have him?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so these first round picks, they get plenty of chances, which I actually don't even hate the logic behind. You like him in college. See if Zach Wilson sucks for 3 years, and if I was a GM, I'd probably put him on a practice squad, see if I can unlock it, right?
Kyle Bowler's still on a team. No, I'm just kidding. Kyle Bowler's not still on a team. Although he can throw a ball through a field goal post from 50 yards on one knee, so he has that going for him.
Not quite Colt McCoy good, but still pretty good.
That was always my favorite story. Oh, he can throw the ball through a field goal post on one knee. Okay, first round pick.
That'll come in handy.
Yeah, first round pick. Oh, good old Kyle Bowler.
Yeah. All right. I thought you Kyles don't all stick together.
No, we're not afraid to throw each other under the bus if we have to.
Okay.
But the Kyle name has gone through a bit of, it's gone through a lot lately. All of a sudden we're the angry kids like who punch drywall and drink monsters. I've
Yeah.
had my fair share of monsters, but I haven't punched drywall in like 2 months. I don't understand it.
Yes. I like this is one of my favorite comments. Back to the Cardinals. Yeah, we really went off the rails here, Kyle. We really tried to avoid talking about this game as much as possible. I think the Cardinals should do well, even against a good defense. I think they'll be able to move the ball. I trust Cliff Kingsbury to do it, and their secondary should shut the Panthers down. This is honestly a lock candidate. I think that this is a team that could. I think this should be a blowout. Any final thoughts?
I'm with you on that. I think they should. I don't really care who's on the field for the Cardinals. They should win this game by a lot, honestly.
If you flip the rosters, do the Cardinals win?
Well, then no, but I mean,
Well, I'm saying you don't care. I mean, just throwing it out there.
I'm as far as the health of some of their top guys.
Right. No, I know what you mean. Let's move on. So I'm going to give you a game. And how about this? I'm going to give you the Lions at Steelers. Lions, fourth last picked. Good for them. Kyle, who do you think is winning this one? Steelers are 9-point favorites at home.
I will take the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good old Schittsburg's going to go in there and probably win that one pretty easily. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. This defensive line's going to eat Jared Goff for lunch and probably save some room for dinner too. It doesn't matter if they can't cover because the Lions don't have receivers, so it basically cancels each other out. I'm trying to think of anything really exciting to look at for this game. This could be the best. Like, this could be a game. Someone's going to say it's like a vintage Ben Roethlisberger performance because he has like 11 yards per attempt against this Lions team.
Yeah, all with like an average depth of target of like 3 yards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Deontay Johnson's going to catch like 5 balls and end up with like 75 yards with like 60 yards after the catch.
Yeah, Luke Brown says Lions are elite. Kyle will regret doubting them. Yeah, Kyle, I don't love how big of a Dan Campbell hater you've been so far this season.
I don't even want to hear this. I don't even want to hear this. That's my future president.
Dan Campbell, is this? What do you hope for as the Dan Campbell supporter? Dan Campbell for president is what you say. What do you think he does? I mean, I don't know. I think there's a real chance the Lions could actually do some stuff. Like, I think that the problem is they don't have receivers, but at least like the flip side is the Steelers can't cover, and if they can get guys at least somewhat open, Jared Goff's proven he can be successful in that kind of stuff. Obviously, the pressure is not great, but it'll happen. As long as you don't fumble. You can at least survive that. And then the flip side is maybe this, Ben Roethlisberger will just not be able to throw the ball down the field enough to take advantage of these wide open gaps 20 yards down the field. So I don't think it's a likelihood of it happening, but I'm kind of just going with like the worst favorite available with the Steelers.
Yeah, we've seen the Lions just kind of stay in these games. So, if they manage to do that just one time and pull it out, it's a possibility any week, and it could be with Pittsburgh. We've seen some weird losses this season. So if they manage to just kind of fight and stay in the game, because I mean, that's the thing is like outside of these last 2 weeks, it's a bad team. There's bad players on the roster, but I think that's one of the things that you kind of have to praise Campbell for, even though the game plan can be off, even though there's not talent on the team. They just go out there and compete, though. They go out and work hard. Now, that's all fine and dandy. You got to win football games. But this team is a team that can go out and compete and stay in the game.
Yeah, I think I agree. It should be a very fascinating one. No, it shouldn't. What am I saying? It'll be a game that we will maybe check out if the score is closer than we think. Let's move on. Why don't you give me a game?
We'll turn it in just in time for the Lions to miss a game-winning field goal and lose in a heartbreaking way.
Exactly.
I know what you're locking up here, so I'm not going to give it to you.
Okay.
I'm going to make you save it for last. I don't know why. Just because I feel like being like that. Bucks at Balls.
All right. Buccaneers at Balls here. I think Tampa Bay is going to win. In fact, I'm a little bit wondering how Washington could keep this close, and maybe that's just me being a homer. But I feel like I've pretty much had my finger on the pulse of Tampa Bay. I think I only incorrectly predicted one game of them or 2 games of them last year. So one of them was the Bears, the other was the second Saints game. So I think the Buccaneers should have a pretty good time here. I guess the one thing is the Taylor Heineke revenge game, of a different kind of revenge game, of just, seeing if he can recapture that magic against Tampa Bay. But the one thing is that, what Todd Bowles does poorly is sometimes his initial game plans don't do too well. What he does very well is make adjustments, and he doesn't make the same mistake twice typically. We saw this in the playoffs last year where he learned from his mistakes, and specifically in that Saints game and in the Chiefs game. I think he'll learn from his mistakes there. Also, they were injured in that game. I think that Tampa Bay's offense is, just as good as it was last year, maybe even better. The Washington football team defense is much worse. They should score 100 in this one. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with my home team and go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think that's a fair pick.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think that's a good call. This could be like a monster Gronkowski game. We've talked about this Washington linebacking coverage unit ad nauseum. We've talked about this secondary that's covering deep balls a lot. And, I don't think Landon Collins against Scotty Miller and Chris Godwin's a good matchup. I don't think that's a good matchup in favor of Washington. I think the Balls are going to struggle. There's going to be another game in the Tom Brady MVP column. I think he's going to have 1 billion yards. Bucks win a lot.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to change my mind on something, Kyle. I'm locking it up. Give me the lock. You locked your team last week and had success. I'm doing it this week. Give me Tampa Bay, win by over 9.5.
I think that's fair. I think they win this one by double digits. Washington, I can't say it enough. I say it every week. This team stinks. They're terrible. Put a fork in them. They're terrible. They might be the worst team in the NFC, and the Lions are there. They might be right there with the Lions. I mean, this team just is awful. I don't like anything about it.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, I do the analytical power rankings every week, so I have to see like where PFF has rated every single one of their positional groups. Tier 1 offensive line, Tier 1 pass rush, Tier 2 run defense. So they got that stuff down. The problem is they're just so bad at everything else, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's a bad group, especially in the secondary. I mean, this secondary has easily been the most disappointing thing in football this season, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, at least like the coverage unit as a whole, I think so. I mean, this is a team that we thought was going to be like at least a playoff contender. Now they're looking at mock drafts already, and it's November.
We felt pretty good about them winning the NFC East.
Yeah,
and so they're not going to win the NFC East. Yeah. So yeah, I think Bucks 10 points should be no problem for the Buccaneers in this one.
Yeah. Also, have you seen Tom Brady's stats? It's like absurd, like what he's like put up so far this season. Like his, just to check, like currently, 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,650 yards through 8 games. So he's on pace to have a 50 touchdown, 5,000 yard season if it was a 16 game season so far. Like as a 44-year-old, that's ridiculous.
I guess pretty good.
Yeah,
nice to have him on my team.
I mean, could you imagine someone do a Photoshop of Tom Brady in a Patriots uniform?
If only. I mean, I can't even say it. I like Mac Jones, so I'm still riding with mac and cheese. I do miss Brady though.
Yeah, it is a little bit kind of unfair that after 1 year of having Brady, like you go one Cam Newton year, it's like, okay, here's this promising rookie quarterback, like just immediately like, oh, okay.
I mean, the dumbest one has to be the Packers, right? Like,
yeah, that's fair. Especially if Jordan Love ends up being great.
Yeah, if they go back to back to back, I mean, that's dumb. It's stupid.
Yeah. Although they only won 2 Super Bowls with those 2 guys.
Nope.
I mean, I know a lot of like, I'm sure some Vikings fan is saying, "Oh, poor Packers, only 2 Super Bowls."
I know. I mean, at the same time, we keep saying, "Oh, this guy only has 1 Super Bowl," stuff like that. It's really hard when one guy wins like half of them over 20 years.
That's also fair.
There's so much you can do if a guy is going to be there basically every time.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Let's move on. So I'm trying to pick up my notes. So I'm giving you one last game. I'll give you Ravens at Mammals here. Mammals under Dolphins. Ravens are 7.5 point favorites on the road. Where are you going?
Was this your lock before you?
It was not. I was going to lock up the Bills.
Oh, Well, I thought about locking this one up hard. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
understand it. The Mammals don't defend the run very well. The
Mm-hmm.
Ravens are a decent running team, um,
Mm-hmm.
as in they're a very good running team. So I don't
Yeah.
really understand this at all. I don't understand why this is going to be close. Talk me into this being less than 10 points.
Okay, well, I think the first thing is that the Ravens are going to run the ball a lot, so it's harder to win by a lot when you run the ball a lot. So that's a factor. I think that the Ravens still do throw the ball from time to time, and the Mammals should be able to shut that down. And I think the flip side is we've seen teams have success playing man coverage against the Ravens, which seems so counterintuitive. But I keep harping on this. When you play man and you sort of do that Bill Belichick scheme that Flores is under that tree, and he does a very similar scheme. You can't throw the ball and you're forced to run, at a certain point, things are going to go wrong. So obviously, I think the Ravens just have the talent to get away with it. But I think schematically, it's a good matchup for Miami on that side to stick within 7 points potentially.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting, but I do think they should win pretty handily. Poor Luke Brown here, back with the optimism, hoping
Mm-hmm.
Tua plays though. I feel like one of these days we're going to come in on a Wednesday and Luke Brown is just broken down. Like, like
Yeah.
the Dolphins are 2-13. It's like there's not much to look forward to, and he's just had enough.
I don't think it's possible. I think the Dolphins could. I mean, again, the Dolphins, they have no draft pick. So it's, usually when your team sucks, you can at least start to do the opposite and root against them. So they can, what do you root? I guess it's just Tua. It's just you root Tua is good. But then again, if you're a Dolphins fan who's a Tua hater, it's like, what are you doing with your life? Go. That's when it's like you just gotta. You gotta stop watching Dolphins games. Watch the rest
You're
of the league or
thanking the
something.
Lord you live in Miami and have the sun year round, and
Mm-hmm.
you can watch the Miami Heat, who when they aren't acting like Markieff Morris got like shot in the back of the head, is a pretty good basketball team. So
Mm-hmm. That's true. You got the Florida Panthers.
yeah, they're pretty good too.
Uh-huh.
Although they lost their how'd they done since the coach left?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I was gonna go see them play on Saturday, but then things came up, so I'm gonna go to see them Lightning play next week. That doesn't matter. No one cares. Back to the Ravens at Mammals. Yeah, the flip side is, I mean, I guess you could see Tua maybe doing. I don't know. I think Tua struggles under pressure, and the Ravens blitz a lot, so that's the flip side. If Tua does play, that's going to be the issue. So yeah, I mean, this is a team that we should expect the Ravens to win here, playing a not very good team. Poor Dolphins fans.
yeah. I guess the one thing you can say, although it is pressure, so we'll see how he manages it.
Mm-hmm.
The the Ravens haven't covered well.
No.
They haven't covered well basically all season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that gets better.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, the Marcus Peters injury.
Yeah.
That was something that's kind of why we all wrote him off early on, but then they actually still were doing all right.
Yeah. So it'll be. I'm curious to see if the Ravens like
Hmm.
have a complete performance in this one.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Final game. Luke Brown also says, "My optimism will never die until it does." All right. So there you go. Bills at Jets. This is the game I was going to lock up. Decided to lock up the Buccaneers one instead in the heat of the moment. And by the way, every time I've ever done that, it's always come back to bite me. Never once have I done that and it worked out. So gut feelings. This is why I'm an analytics guy. Gut feelings don't always work. But I'm doing it here. I don't know. I just feel like forget about Mike White's going to play. I don't know how much I love Mike White against the Bills, where they're not going to do the thing that we've seen the past two teams do against the Jets, which, by the way, if you come out and play like a base cover 3 zone all game against the Jets, it's a fireable offense at this point. Like what we've seen of them, you can completely shut them down if you play man coverage. So it's just with some consistency, and two teams back to back did not do that. I think that this is a game that I expect the Bills to blow them out, and part of it is, I mean, the Jets defense couldn't stop anything last game. I mean, there was a time when the Indianapolis Colts were pitching a perfect game against them. They were scoring touchdowns for I think it was the first 5 drives. I mean, this is it's their offense is so bad. We forgot to talk about how bad their defense is with the Jets.
Yep. It's a lousy defense. I think we know this, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I mean, it's a lousy defense. The Bills should bounce back and torch them. And
Mm-hmm.
on the other side, if Mike White regresses, I wouldn't be surprised either. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Bills should win this one by a billion. I'm just looking to see them
A
bounce back
billion?
and billion, $1 billion. If it was Bills minus $1 billion, I'm taking the Bills.
I think you missed a bill, Ian.
Oh. All right, show's over. No,
all right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else to look at it, I guess, that way. I want to see the Bills come out and look like angry, I think that's what I want to see. I want to see the Bills look motivated to play.
Mm-hmm. Is it concerning, though? Good team playing the Jets. This is prime upset potential.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. I guess the exciting part about this game is you get Mike White, right? You get to see more of him. You get to see, if you're someone like me who kind of said, he kind of just did well in a good situation. Now, not a good situation. Bill's defense is good. How well does he do here? This is more intriguing to me.
It would be you to say that when you're a fan of the Jets' third best quarterback. So, I mean, the funny thing is if he goes out and plays good again, and I mean, it's just becoming objectively funny now that like these other quarterbacks are playing well.
Right.
But hey, I'm rooting for the guy because hey, if he continues to play well, whether it's the Jets or somewhere else, he's getting a contract.
Yeah. And his plan last week was he executed to perfection, right? Oh, I got something in my hand. Can't play this week. And then the worst case scenario turns out Wilson needs another week to prepare. Now Mike White's got to figure out another fake injury during this one.
It will be funny if he comes up with like a hamstring thing or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just something small, just some sort of. I think the hand was good, like wrist discomfort, that was good. Maybe like a broken finger or something. Just like slam the car door on your finger. It'll hurt, but you'll make millions of dollars doing it.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I'm excited for Mike White. I'm ready for some White.
All right, I'm going to clip. That's going to get clipped out of context. But
I'm ready for some White.
Okay, I think we can come up with a better slogan than "Ready for some White."
How about Whiteout?
Whiteout's not horrible. Not
White
horrible. White Power. Maybe not that one. Okay. It's tough. Maybe I don't know. It's a tough name to really go. I think Whiteout. Maybe we did that.
How about just Mike? His nickname's Mike.
Mike. So all Mike's fans are called the Mikes.
Open Mike. There you go.
Open Mike. There you go. None of these are good. None of these have worked.
Yeah, I mean, Mike White's a pretty tough nickname. It's pretty tough to find a nickname out of that.
The Whiteaholics.
The Whiteaholics. White chocolate. I guess that's the one you go with. I mean, that's just the default white guy thing. Like Jason Williams is white chocolate. I mean, when your last name's White, it's got to be white chocolate, right?
Wait, so are we going with a nickname for Mike White, or are we trying to figure out a what we call Mike White fans?
I mean, they're the Whiteys. That's what it is.
Okay, I guess there we go. I like that, Whiteys. I think that's a good one. Okay, well, we figured it out for Mike White. Luke Brown in the comments. Hello, demonetization. Yeah, there you go. Good. Yeah. All right. So, also, you're all over the place tonight. Hey, we're getting back into the thick of things. We're figuring it out.
We're half football, or we're like 80% football, 20% our own entertainment. So
yeah, that's true.
We don't expect you guys to laugh. We're laughing. We're laughing for you.
Our goal is to entertain ourselves. This is just Kyle and I hanging out, and we just recorded. That's what.
I mean, we've called a professional football team on this podcast the Balls for 2 years. I don't think we take ourselves too seriously.
That's a fair point. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I guess I think we've covered this game. So that's long show, an hour and 40 minutes, but it was good. We got all the stuff that we wanted to talk about. Kyle, any final thoughts before we head out?
Once again, looking forward to another awesome Week 10. Looking forward to a Patriots season. Gearing up for Thanksgiving. So it should be good stuff.
Yeah, I had to go to a wedding and see all my family because my cousin's wedding, this past weekend. Now I have to see my family for Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks, and then it's Christmas coming. So it's what are we doing? I have to see my family 3 times in 2 months. I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, who scheduled this wedding? Honestly.
Yeah, really, a November wedding with the family, and usually we and it was supposed to be last year, but then COVID ruined it. It's like I don't know, why not just do it the day of Thanksgiving. We're all there anyways. It works out perfectly.
Thanksgiving wedding. That's a new
Yeah.
idea.
There you
I
go.
love
See,
Thanksgiving. I don't even care. I know it's kind of glossed over. It might be my favorite holiday. Obviously, you can look
this is
at
a
me and
hot
say,
take. This is a spicy hot take, I think, Kyle.
I mean, I like Halloween. I like Christmas. But you know what? If you look at me, I'm not someone who really, hates to miss a meal. So
Uh,
Thanksgiving's good for that. I get football. And then I kind of, it's kind of universally accepted after football and after eating to just kind of sit. And I enjoy sitting on my couch and doing nothing and petting my dog. So that's what I do.
that's good. I think my problem with Thanksgiving is like the food I prefer to eat is not necessarily Thanksgiving food. Like I'm not crazy. Like, I like it. It's not like a bad meal or anything. But like like turkey, like mashed potatoes, I like that stuff. But like if I want to eat like something that I really enjoy, I'd want to have like a pizza. Like let's normalize Thanksgiving pizza.
Here's my thing though. I like Thanksgiving food because I don't eat it year round. If I ate turkey year round, I'd be like, I don't want turkey. I don't want a
Hmm.
turkey. I don't want stuffing. I don't want this stuff. But because I have it once or twice a year, basically,
Hmm.
it's pretty nice to have it as a change of pace. I feel like if I had pizza for Thanksgiving, I'd be like, I don't really want to celebrate Thanksgiving this year.
I think I could literally eat pizza for every meal and never get tired of it.
Really? Ooh.
Hmm.
Although that's with me with like ramen. I had pho today, and ramen and pho, those are usually my go-tos.
You know what? Actually, funny. I think it was a couple years back where no, it was last year during COVID. I didn't go visit my family during Thanksgiving. I stayed home. I think I actually had like a frozen pizza for Thanksgiving. It was a better option.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, if you like pizza, go for it. I mean, I do like pizza. I'll have my fair share of pizza. That's definitely true. Um,
Uh,
what's your go-to pizza toppings?
I'm a big pepperoni guy. Give me pepperoni. That's it.
That's fair.
Don't need any of these vegetables. What are we doing putting vegetables on something that's all carbs and cheese? Get that out of here.
The vegetable I like to throw on it is jalapeno. I'll do pepperoni and
Okay.
jalapeno.
Hmm.
My wife's a big cheese person. She'll just get cheese pizza.
Hmm.
It's like, like I'm not a huge fan of just cheese pizza.
Yeah, it's all right. It's fine. No one's ever complained about cheese pizza unless you're vegan.
Like, look, I get it. That's the core ingredients of pizza is bread, sauce, cheese. But at the
Hmm.
same time, that pepperoni adds a little what you need to your life, basically.
Yeah,
Until
I
you die of
agree.
a heart attack at 50. But up until then, it's what you need in life.
Hey, would you rather live 50 years of eating pepperoni pizza or 75 years of eating cheese pizza?
I'd rather just live. So I mean,
Okay, well then there we
maybe
go. Then maybe
I'll cut off the
maybe a lifestyle
pepperoni.
change in order.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show. Again, I love that ending. We were talking about Kyle dying at 50. This is a great way to end it.
I mean, I'll accept it at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, I think things got a little dark here at the end, but all right. That's our show, everyone. Thank you for the ones who, if you
What's
stuck
the Kyle
around,
Shanahan thing? I don't know if I'll be alive tomorrow.
exactly. Yeah. Really, God bless everyone who stuck around through 143 minutes or an hour and 43 minutes of this just complete nonsense.
Hey, it's what we live for. It's complete nonsense. I'm glad you're here. Looking forward to week 10.
Yeah, it should be a fun week. Kyle, let them know where they can find us before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's at Jackson Kruger on Twitter. Make sure to follow him at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin on Twitter. That's at by Kyle Gronin. And then make sure to follow the account page. That's at on the sideline JK at on the sideline JK on Twitter.
Yes. Thank you again to everyone. Kyle, I feel like I need a new outro. I don't love the outro.
Um, you put me on the spot here.
Well, we don't need to do it this week. I mean, we could do the
Yeah,
regular outro and then come up with one maybe. Commenters, maybe comment in the comments below a new outro for us.
yeah. Any
Mhm.
suggestions we'll definitely take. Until then, go for it.
Yeah. Also, one last thought. Kyle, I meant to mention this at the beginning of the show. YouTube is getting rid of the dislike button. So we can get a lot more spicy takes here. We don't have to worry about getting disliked to oblivion.
Why are they getting rid of it? Is it like a mental health positivity thing?
Yeah.
Well, I
Hmm.
guess
Well,
that's
although I
important.
believe it's still there, but it just doesn't show up publicly.
I mean, 2 years of dislikes has already cratered my mental health and, positivity, but at the same time,
Yeah, at
it's
this
good
point,
to
let us
add it
dislike
now
others.
for future YouTubers.
Right. Exactly. All right. Anyway, thanks to you all for watching. We do appreciate it. And until next time, we will have a new outro. Goodbye.
Peace.